Greetings, fellow adventurers, and welcome to the Couple of Nerds podcast. I'm DnDWife, the creator of DnDWifeStories.com, and your co-host. Joining me is the man behind the screen, my brilliant dungeon master, and also my husband, Eguile. Say hi, Eguile.
Hey everyone, excited to be here sharing our nerdy adventures with all of you.
Absolutely. So what's Couple of Nerds all about? Well, we're diving into the realms of Extraeus, sharing our experiences, playing D&D in our apartment, and exploring the intricate tapestry of relationships both in and out of the game.
And we got some exciting segments for you all, from lore deep dives to crafting tips, artwork showcases, and relationship advice on and off the table. We've got a little bit of everything for every kind of adventurer.
So whether you're a seasoned adventurer or a tabletop newbie, we invite you to join us today. Tune in, relax, and enjoy the magic of Couple of Nerds. May your rolls be natural 20s and your adventures be legendary. Welcome, everybody, to episode 14 of Couple of Nerds. I'm your host, DnDWife, and with me is my co-host and husband, Dungeon Master Eguile.
How's it going, everyone? Now, before we begin, I want to make sure to say first, happy birthday.
Thank you.
So we always be celebrating a little extra today in today's episode.
It's a little fun.
Yeah.
But today we're going to be talking about our You Heard It From Us segment, which is where we cover certain situations that arise in D&D, advice, tips, and we share anecdotes from our own play. That way we, sometimes it can help people. Yeah,
we feel like, especially the TTRPG communities, it's very much like you share the knowledge and the struggles from all the hundreds of hours. So, we have had quite unbelievably hundreds of hours of content. Yeah. Why not share some of the trials and tribulations, and maybe some people can get some help out of it?
Yeah, we hope by sharing our experiences, it might bring insight to somebody else.
So what do you think should be our focus for tonight?
Well, today we're focusing on finding players.
Yeah, as a DM, I can contend this is probably one, if not the largest, kind of worries, struggles, and things that I kind of have to always be on top of.
Yeah, and looking at, too, on the internet, seeing people talk about how hard it is to find in-person tables, let alone, online tables are a little easier, but that can be tough, too. So I've heard it is a little difficult to find the right people to play with.
Yeah, I mean, we always stress that our focus has always been in person. Mm-hmm. We very much, and I think everyone's heard in previous episodes how much we stress the table.
Yeah, it's
and
important.
That closeness. Now, mind you, any way you can get any kind of D&D, RPG, do it.
Absolutely.
Go out, play. If you got to do it over phone and just do, because playing is always the big cause. But we've kind of seen that there is kind of a dynamic when coming together as a group, and especially if you're going to have these people in your home or your apartment, you really got to take that extra step that you wouldn't really necessarily have to worry about on online play.
Yeah, you can take your time, and being around people, I don't know, it's a little more personal, a little more immersive to me.
Right, it's very much this opening of your home and your heart, essentially, because you are letting them into a very sacred place.
Yeah, it is a little more vulnerable.
So we've both had a lot of mistakes. We've done very wrong in certain things, and we've learned from those mistakes. And over time, and over the course of this almost 6 years now, we have developed these kind of forethoughts, and we now see more of what are the unique aspects of each player and these people that come, and what brings them to play is more important. And knowing that and understanding why they're there to begin with, I feel like helps me not only as a DM, but just as another person at the table, understand why are we coming together to play.
Yeah, and as a player, it helps to understanding how your fellow players feel about things. So, if someone wants to heavily RP or they want to focus on the action, we should know that, we should acknowledge that, and everybody should strive to make it something that everybody can enjoy.
Oh, yeah, and the big thing that we have, and now all over the internet, I think there's just tons of different ways and denominations and breakdowns and ways that you can describe players. But we have come up with our own unique kind of groupings that we're going to show that if you maybe use these two, they might help you better understand your players, your fellow players, your GM, everything. And just maybe you can hear it from us and kind of see that we maybe had the right idea.
Yeah, we'll share our insight into this specific issue, and hopefully that helps.
But really to justify it, and obviously not to be like, hey, we know everything and stuff like that. We had to go a very long and troublesome road.
Yeah, the advice we give isn't because we think we're so knowledgeable. It's because of experience.
We made so many mistakes.
Yeah, it was tough. We did some things that we probably shouldn't have done, like inviting strangers into our home
without vetting them
at all.
Yeah, I mean, you really shouldn't give your address ever.
Yeah, don't recommend it
and do things like that. But it's really in those failures, in those mistakes or anything that we made that we really learned and developed kind of the system we have now, which allows us to work so smoothly. And we've had a lot of changes on our player base. Like we started off as a group of 3 and that original 3 has gone so in different directions that it's crazy. And we've had players we've had to kick out for various reasons. We've had players leave due to either moving away or just not quite interested in the story anymore. So we've really had some tough times. And I know you as a player, that's sometimes tough because those are the people around you that you're interacting with. And if they are being this issue, there's not really much you can do if the DM isn't quite seeing that. Yeah,
it can be a little tough. Well, I wouldn't say maybe you weren't seeing it. I would say it's tough trying to balance being a DM that's trying to make sure the game is fun for everybody and not just tailor it to one person, right? So things can't happen right away. There has to take time to see maybe this behavior is problematic because it's been happening for a while.
Oh, yeah. And the thing, too, is it's just like in D&D or any kind of game, really, it's like you never know what you're going to come up against and what kind of things are going to happen. I mean, one of the crazier stories that we've experienced is that we had almost one of our original players, one of our big starting 3. And this gentleman was with us. I mean, he was very close to us. We even considered opening up one of the rooms of our apartment because he was struggling and having issues and was having a hard time finding an apartment himself. Yeah. That we were going to just open up our house, allow him to stay with us. And it was so crazy. And I remember because it was in October. Yep. Because it's always going to lock into my head. And we had a session and he just disappeared.
Yep.
Couldn't find him.
Completely gone.
Looked him up.
No message,
tried to call
nothing.
Him, tried to figure out what happened. Worried for the worst. Didn't know what was going on. And then slowly, as we started to learn more and more and more, it got a little more grim. And we found out he was arrested. He was charged with a very heinous crime. Very heinous. That really kind of puts you into this idea of that you have to be aware. You need to be on focus as to who you bring to your table because you never know what people are capable of and you never know what you're kind of bringing. Not in any way should you ever not try to reach out, have people play, bring out those people.
Yeah, we always recommend
But you always make sure you're prepared and looking out. And so we really focused after that point. We really kind of had to reevaluate the entire way we did things.
Yeah, safety became a bigger issue.
At that point, we had other players that had families that had brought this gentleman over. That then was a whole big question of, oh my gosh, what could have happened?
Exactly.
And that so you never know. Too. So you have to make sure you kind of always keep one eye open on who you are bringing into the table.
Yeah, until you get to know people, it's really tough to make that decision. And this person we had known for quite a while at that point. We thought we knew him, so that was a big shock. Yeah. So it just goes to show sometimes you just don't know. Right. You can do all the research, but sometimes you just don't know.
And just like how you never know with outside factors, right? Like we could never know what was truly going on in someone's personal life. Yeah. There's also issues that come, especially I see with players, with how they approach the game and how they want to play. And I know you've had some issues being my RP queen, my one who wants to jump in head first, which I love. But I do know that there are certain player types that really break that immersion for you.
Well, yeah. We had a couple players that we invited to join, and it was really fun at first. They were dynamic people who played really fun characters.
Really interesting characters to the story.
Yeah, they were very interesting
before.
But things started being a little strange when they started showing up way too inebriated to play. So that became an issue.
Can I get a long rest? Can I get
every 5 seconds?
Can I get a long rest?
Seriously.
It
happened every 5 seconds. It was insane. Or when they would fall asleep in the middle of a session and the snoring, it definitely took us out of the game. It was tough.
Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily anything against them per se. It was that they had a particular view on what was entertaining for them.
Yeah.
They loved the action scenes. They loved getting to like destroy a tavern because they felt like it.
Yeah.
And that was but then when it was, they didn't want to hear the sad story of the tavern keeper's wife.
Or consequences.
They didn't want to hear about the backstory.
Nah.
They really didn't have a backstory. They were there to kick ass and take names.
Yeah. My only issue was really when they started missing sessions for ridiculous reasons, and also when they started wanting you to really go into detail on some explicit scenes that just were fade to black because that's how we do things to keep it, semi-PG.
Yeah, I mean, we've always had that kind of as a main philosophy because A, I'm not here to do that.
Yeah.
And B, again, that's just different for what people want. And so it's like, especially as a DM, it's like, hey, I don't do that. Like, if you want, that's fine. Not
at this table.
There.
Yeah.
But it's not really what we do. It's not our focus. It's not really the respect we have for one another. And so that's where it really became something where it was like, hey, maybe you got to go find another table. Maybe there's something that's better for you. It's not that you should quit playing.
No way, not at all.
But it obviously wasn't as high of a priority for them.
Yeah.
But, so then you have to know that those are kind of people that want to meet maybe every couple of months to have some big battle royale, and that gets their kind of their juices flowing.
That's what
and then they're good
really
until the next
fun
battle
at.
royale. So you have to really kind of see, and that's how we started learning and seeing, wait a minute, okay, we have this kind of way we want to play.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to kind of find certain players that fit within that realm.
That want to play it in a similar fashion.
We don't have these headbutting things. We don't have these problems. We set up straight goals and expectations.
Yeah.
So that everyone knows, okay, hey, we're all here. Now, we might vary in different ways. Not all of my players are our peers. Not all of you are using accents.
No, not at all.
But you're all wanting this kind of long story with a very long drawn out, with heavy backstory focus and character building.
Yeah.
And everyone at the table on that same page.
Yeah, we all wanted that real world we could live in. That was super important, and I think it's really interesting what you say about boundaries, because we really did started setting expectations and boundaries. You started coming out with a little booklet.
It's when I started writing my rule book.
Yeah, at the beginning of every session 0, you would hand those out to remind people about, like, what the whole game would encompass.
Yeah, I think because that's just very important, so that everyone is on the same page. So then there's no questions later as to like, why was this way, or how come this is going on.
Yeah,
everyone's there. But really, I think the meat is yes, you can have these players, you can have these problems, but finding them first,
so tough,
is not only the scariest jumping into the pool you can have, but also very difficult as to like where to get started.
Yeah,
because honestly, as much as the internet is this like free form things, there are a lot of rules on the internet for posting to try to find groups and different things, especially on like websites like Reddit and stuff, where you can't just make an account and say, hey, I'm looking for players. You'll instantly be spammed out and done, because that's just not how that system works.
You have to kind of build a reputation so they know you're a person.
Yeah, and so that, sometimes it is tough to go, okay, well, how do I really start, and how do I really get in? And for us, it's kind of that simple way of your coworkers.
Yeah.
You find people that, work in the same shift. You automatically already know because you guys work together. And why not do that? And it is kind of an easy way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where you work. I happen to work in a restaurant, so it was a bunch of night cooks. But even if you work as an office worker, a teacher, a warehouse worker, it doesn't really matter. Just talk to the people around you, because the biggest hurdle is that time problem.
Yeah.
And if you're talking with the people that already work the same schedule,
then you're fine.
It kind of makes it easy. But I mean, I know you've had some, kind of success also reaching out on social media and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The people that will reach out via X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram. People love to share their own experiences, and it's a really great community online too. I find that everyone's really nice and really supportive.
Yeah, and as we said, we kind of jumped into the online recruitment as best as we could, but we weren't the smartest about it. So we always recommend you please vet someone out first. Yeah. So we use a site like D&D Beyond, and that allowed us to actually, in the early part, allowed us to connect with individuals in our area, and because it was still very early. I mean, I think D&D Beyond had been open for like 3 months at that point.
Yeah, not very long.
So it was still pretty early. It's not as large as it is now.
Yeah.
But that is a great place where there's a lot of people that you can just start with a general area code search, which is what I recommend. That way you're not giving away your direct location, but you can at least see if people were within the region. We met an individual who is still now playing with us.
Yeah, he's a long-time player now.
Through a random ad on D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
But as much as that is, we have found that there are much more organic methods of bringing in new players, making sure that if someone has to leave to an unfortunate event, there's already someone that's ready to go and jump into the game. And I know you love a lot of these.
Oh, they're super fun. I think these are really important to note. And each of them have their own unique ups and that really help kind of bring something new to the table. Yeah. So the first one is the visitor program that we have. We do allow people to come visit and spectate in on the sessions,
and with no intention of playing.
No, not at all. No expectation of play. Rather,
like so. Really, it's really you want to bring your mom to come watch this session, which we're gonna have soon, which is gonna be hilarious.
Super fun,
because one of our oldest players is having his mother watch us, and so it's just gonna be this cool trip.
And she used to run their session, so I think that's fantastic.
And introduced him to all this. I think he said she introduced him to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, all this stuff. So that's so cool to bring in that multi-generational. But just having people bring in a girlfriend, a significant other, and just have them come. We do have limits, so you can only do it so often.
Yeah,
so that
we can only fit so many people in the house.
Yeah, and only one person at a time because our table's only so large.
Yeah, but it's really fun to be able to kind of allow that sort of not an increase in table necessarily, but just people coming in and seeing.
Yeah, and then for those when they are interested in playing, we do have a little addendum to that. If their guest wishes to join, then they're like a squire or a page.
Yeah.
Something that's just going to cause more of a problem to the player who brought the friend, because now they're this low-level tag-along they have to deal with all session.
And they have to protect them.
So it makes this fun because when the player brings a friend, they also know, okay, what am I also going to be getting into? Because now it's a whole new spin on them. But I also like is the referrals.
Yes, we do allow referrals.
And that's a big deal because it sounds weird. It sounds like a, kind of back, but it's
like
really
a business.
More of what we say is that every player gets allowed one referral. And what that means is, so if we have an opening, if something happens, they can offer someone up who will get a chance to come in and play and be voted on by the rest of the table. But they will get, as they have one, they get first dibs at allowing a new player. So that way, if they have a friend they want to bring in, they can bring that friend in. But once they've done that, it has to wait until a full round has come back before they get another chance to do it again. And we find that this is really nice because it allows you to not only reach out to your friends, encourages your players to tell their friends about your table, get them jealous, make them want to show up, because then if there is that opportunity, they can use that chance to bring you in and have that great opportunity brought to you as well. And now they're also getting to play with their friend that they know.
And it's super fun. We've had that happen.
It's happened twice now.
We've had referrals.
Created lasting players that are still playing now. And it's funny because one of them, the gentleman who operates Tobias, he even says about how he was so thankful given the situation and everything that was going on of having that opportunity given to him, knowing just how valuable having this table is.
Yeah, because Tobias is a friend of he was a co-worker of a friend, and then he became friend of a friend, and now he's our friend.
But really, try to meet these people before necessarily inviting them into your home. So you want to make sure.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you have a table that attracts all the people that you want, essentially.
And so a really good way is meeting outside. Go to a Starbucks, go to a bookstore. Hell, do they even still have bookstores?
I think so. maybe.
Or
I don't
dinosaurs. But yeah, go to these different places. Go out and meet in public. Meet with your whole table with this individual.
Yeah.
Strength in numbers, people.
Yep.
But that way you can see who this person is, get to know them, see how they blend with the group, and already kind of do an icebreaker.
Little tester, yeah.
Be upfront. Let them know, hey, I'm bringing my table, and make sure that they don't just
kind
get
of a little
dive-bombed.
interview, yeah.
But we found that we've done that now in a few other times, and that's really helped because everyone gets to meet, everyone gets to break kind of that worry. And that way everyone starts to introduce each other. And then when session 0 rolls around, as you're starting a new table or getting a group going, everyone's like, oh yeah, I met this person before. We've already talked. We already had drinks. And it already starts that building of player camaraderie and that building of togetherness.
Because you already know that person. You've already gotten to know them at least a little bit to understand what kind of person they are.
Yeah, and we've managed to break it down into like a few distinct kind of what we call like categories of player. It's not has nothing to do with like how they play. No. More of what represents why they play.
Yeah, their motivation. So we have did you want me to list them out here?
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right. So we have the newbie, the veteran, the bookworm, the comic relief, the adventurer, and the gamer. And they all have unique motivations as to why they play the game.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not a breakdown, or an indictment of how this. It's really just kind of that root essence that you can look and kind of spread across your table, not only as a player but especially as a DM, and kind of see, okay, how does this person see the game and how they want the game to be built for them?
Yeah, what is their perspective on how they want to play?
So obviously the first one is the newbie.
Yeah.
I love the newbie.
It's so much fun.
When I was a newbie myself, I was terrified. It was tough because obviously I don't know the rules. But now being a experienced GM and also an experienced player, the joy of having a newbie at the table is amazing.
Oh my God. And we have 2 this time around. It's so much fun.
Because they just bring that fresh look, that new light, and also kind of revitalize a lot of your veteran players.
Yeah, because they haven't sat there for years looking at the rule book and reading it and rereading it over.
They haven't been burned yet.
Yeah, they don't they don't shy away from some actions. They don't shy away from biting someone's tail off or causing certain disruptions. It's really fun.
They really don't have a point of reference. No. They don't know what's good or bad or what's good play, what's bad play. So it really makes it fun, and they kind of are this could be anything kind of person at the table, but also should be understood in that they don't know what to do. They don't know. And so sometimes throwing a lot of information at them or making everything very specific or
convoluted, it can be tough.
Make it hard.
Yeah.
So I like little flashcards and little laminated things to help put their class in a more perspective. It may not be the traditional player handout, but it's something that's more tailored towards their experience.
Sometimes they need a more simplified version. That way they can be like, oh, okay, this is a much better way to keep track of my stuff.
Now you fall into the second category.
I do. I am now a veteran player. I've had 3 campaigns?
Yeah,
a couple of
one-shots.
Yeah. And I have DM'd one of those one-shots.
Yes, you have.
I have run the gauntlet. I consider I have played quite a few characters and I love them. A veteran is someone who has played, I think, multiple campaigns, multiple years of D&D or just TTRPGs that are out there. And so I fall into that category now.
Yeah, and to me, as obviously as a dungeon master, too, veterans are also those kind of like people that help you run the game as well. Other people that know the rules, know the type of game, or the lore of the story, too. If you happen to be in a lore that is much more commonly, and it's not like a homebrew world. But these are the people that also you want to have mixed at your table at all times.
Yeah.
Because these 2 classifications can be really to any of the others, but you want to always have a mixture of both. Because really, if you get all veterans or all newbies, it does make the table a little more difficult.
It can be a little more difficult. You want the wonder of a newbie, but you also want the structure that a veteran can bring.
And the help.
Yes.
Like, it's a big deal. I have a few players that very much help me keep kind of in line with rulings. And sometimes when I miss something, even if it's at their detriment, they will let me know, hey,
they'll call it out.
This is supposed to happen.
Yeah,
I don't want it to happen, but it has to happen. And so then we roll into the other 4 categories. Now, these special ones are the real root of the player. Now, any player can be a newbie and a veteran, but these 4 are kind of the main key. Now, the first one that I really like is the comic relief.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this is really important, and we have one of our own because they really provide that levity. Now, as a DM, it's tough. Like, I want to provide these, like, grounding moments of heartbreak and sorrow. But then there's times, like, I look up and everybody's really bummed out, and you can just see kind of that effect. But then when you have a player who can see the levity, make the jokes, 9 times out of 10, they're your bard. But they allow that kind of to break that. And they're not here for the story per se, but they're here to have fun.
Yeah.
And that fun trumps any rule, any kind of craziness. It's just about getting everyone to laugh and have a great time.
Yeah. To me, they're here for the dialogue. They're here for the camaraderie.
Yeah. And they really... Motivation. If you have one of these kind of players at your table, you will never have a session where no one is just cracking up laughing at a little one-liner or a joke or whatnot.
Yeah.
Now, you also have to be aware, and you have to make sure they also understand that there doesn't need to be a punchline to every line of dialogue.
Yes, and our player had to learn that as well.
So you have to kind of balance that in that you do get that levity, that joy, but you also have to be careful in that they don't overdo it, and now there is no seriousness.
Yeah, because sometimes it's needed.
You can never have a serious moment because everything is a joke.
Yeah, you want some things to be serious. But one of my favorites is the Bookworm. The person,
I wonder why.
The person who reads all the lore and knows everything about everything.
They're the readers, man. They know. I mean, they usually have so many universes in their head because they've read so many series and books and stories. They usually have every book on hardcover in a bookshelf somewhere at home, kind of like you.
I love lore. I love world building, and being a bookworm is a big part of that.
Yeah. And with Bookworm players, that's what's so great, is that they are the kind of people that they want this breadth of knowledge. They want to know exactly how many people, what the religion, what do they eat,
how long ago,
what do they trade, how many times, what was the last marriage that just happened. They want, but they provide the richness to the world, because as a DM, me personally, you hate when you build things and you make all this stuff and you're like, man, I came up with this great idea, and nobody cares. Nobody cares because it's not important. It doesn't mean they don't make gold. They don't care the little unique backstory that connects with every, so having a bookworm is a fantastic person because they are going to eat up that information.
Yeah, they love all that little tidbit knowledge. It's all juicy.
But at the same time, it can be wrong. Wrong is a bad term. It can be overwhelming, I think is a better way to look at it.
That's a better term, yeah.
Because at the same time, you do have all this information. You do have all this lore. And especially I find with my homebrew world, that can be tough because a bookworm has so much information that they sometimes don't see the lines between different worlds. So they'd be like, well, that's not how magic works.
I've done that.
But then they're referencing a world that's not your world. So it's like, well, no, I understand it works there, but this is not there. Well, this is, I get you. Yeah. But you kind of also have to be in this also on my game. When you have a bookworm, you need to make sure you have continuity.
Yes,
there's been plenty of times where a bookworm's going to go, well, wait, this person was supposed to be married this person, so how can they be here now? And you're like, okay, I made that up on the fly. Right. I didn't really remember it. Sorry, let me go back.
It's his twin.
Right, and so those are those balances in having a bookworm type players. You have to come ready with story.
Yeah,
but also know that they're going to eat up every bit of it.
They're going to love it. Enjoy it. You just, you got to be aware.
And now my next kind of category is one that sticks with me, and that's the gamer.
Yes.
Now, the gamer is a person who comes from more of the gaming specific background, not TTRPGs, but more like PlayStation, handhelds, Baldur's Gate, all that kind of
Online.
stuff. So we're used to a very strict style of gameplay, right? I love Fallout 4, but there were plenty of times that I really wish I could say what I wanted to say. But you can't, because the game's not programmed that way. So these kind of players, when they get the opportunity to play, they are the ones who will push the buttons. They want to see the parameters of the world.
Yeah, they want to know what the limits are.
If you show them a tree that is hundreds, if not thousands of miles away, they will, in some time, try to get there.
Yep.
Because they want to see the limits, because when you give them a world that is endless, they want to push the button.
They want to see what it is.
There's no invisible barriers of a game. There's no despawning if they go too far.
Yeah.
So they really love diving into that aspect.
Like, I don't know about you, but one of the first things I do whenever I enter a new game is I unlock the map as fast as I can.
I'm very guilty of that too, because I always want to find all the locations first and then go for what.
So you translate that to the gamer.
I'm very much a gamer RPGer too, you know. So it really plays into how you play. But it can also come with also those side effects if you're not careful, in that they do want that game experience, right? Which means I do X, rewards, cha-ching, XP, okay. But if there isn't anything like that coming on a regular basis, they sometimes lose interest.
Yes, they can get bored.
So you have to make sure you include a little more action, whether it's just for their character alone, some goofy side quest or something for them to. But if you're not really carrying a very fast-paced story, you might lose them.
Yeah, and that's a little tough. And this is why we talk about understanding all these different types of people, so that you can cater your games to make sure everybody's having a good time.
Right, and it's also another aspect, and very similar to the Bookworm, whereas a Bookworm's going to push you on your lore and kind of the way you generate your world. Yeah. A gamer is going to push you mechanically.
Yes,
they're going to make sure every kind of bell and whistle to how much points of damage this can do and what can combine with what, and they're really going to push you to the limit. So you have to be ready to kind of also have your programming side of D&D or any kind of TTRPG, and know that you're going to also make sure you got to debug and update and reprogram just in case, because with gamers at the table, they really are going to find those things and also help you test and debug and fix those things.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to have kind of one of each.
Because it helps you sort of tailor your game.
And then our last one is what I mostly categorize you into as a player, and it's one of, if not my favorite type of player.
The adventurer. That is the player who is just there to see what happens.
They got their hat on, they got their accessories, they got their accent, and they are ready to travel the world of any creation you have.
Oh, it's wonderful. I see it in my head when we play.
and these are great because these are very unique ones, and they're the ones you want to hold on to, because these are the players that are going to be excited with you. They're going to be, and as a DM, it's tough because you kind of feel like you're talking to yourself a lot.
Yeah.
But when you have these adventurer type players that want to meet you halfway, it really doesn't revitalize you as a dungeon master, because now you have players that are, man, they see the world like you see it. They are right there with you, and if anything, seeing your player in costume totally as a GM brings you into that game, man. When you get your headdress on and you get all your stuff for Luna, man, I see you as Luna.
I didn't even think about it that way, that like our immersion could also help you as a DM. That is a very interesting thing that we should definitely keep in mind for future sessions. Yeah.
Right. And so the whole idea is you want this kind of eclectic mix, because each one brings a different thing to the table. So you don't want to necessarily have everyone who's the same kind of player, but you also got to take and acknowledge, okay, I have a gamer, I have an adventurer. Okay, so this person's going to want to make sure I give them loot and things, but I better make sure that there's a fine banquet that they can go and attend because they want to talk to everyone, and make sure you balance. And if you do that and you mix that group and understand, you'll find your players coming back every time ready to go, excited. And it breaks down a lot of that other communication problems, because everyone's getting exactly what they want from the table. And nobody's butting heads to do it.
Yeah, and it's always important to note too that, you know, the DM is also should be open to people coming and talking to them about their expectations. I think that's something you do very well, is you always leave space for people to be like, hey, is there anything I could have done differently for your character? Is there anything you wish you could have done, perhaps that you didn't get a chance to, that I can, you know, work on? Oh, yeah.
And having that open-mindedness is really where it comes from. And again, with our categorization, no one just stays one way either.
No,
it's
grow.
Like badges of honor. You can catch them all.
Yeah.
But it's more of a way to kind of see and analyze and look at your players and your DM and kind of make the game play for exactly those players. And so it's not the sure shot or the one rule to fix them all.
No.
But it's at least a little ways to have better understanding as to who you're playing for and who you're playing with.
Yeah, you know, it's maybe a way to help increase understanding for everybody, whether you're a player or a DM. It really helps kind of bring things into perspective. And I think that's something key to take away from all of this conversation.
Right. Like we said, we've dealt with so much and probably great. And really, if you could go, we offer, come to Discord, see if you can up our kind of story. If you had someone who just disappeared from being arrested or kidnapped or whatever crazy
Something
story,
crazy happened.
Come share us. Because really what we show is that we've dealt with a lot. But every time it's allowed us to learn and get better and better and better.
Yeah, and we've grown as players.
Every time we've added or lost, it hurts. It's a struggle. But we've always come out better because we've learned, we've grown, we've moved forward, and we've used these different categories to help us do that. So we're really hoping that you can use these yourselves, take them out, add some more, tell us some other different types of categories you see. There's got to be hundreds of types.
Oh, yeah.
This is just a small spattering of what is really out there in everybody.
And if you're having issues at your table, or maybe you're having a hard time understanding the perspective of people, to reach out, let us know on social media, TikTok, or a couple of nerds. Find us on our Discord, let us know, and maybe we can help out.
Yeah, and also we always thank everyone for listening. We appreciate every single one of you coming out and taking the time to listen with us, as well as going and liking and reviewing our podcast in any method that you listen.
Yeah, thank you so much.
But we also encourage you, please share us, get someone else to come listen to us, join in the community, come share those stories with us so that we can learn also more and create the Couple of Nerds community and make it even larger than what we hope for. Remember, we're still looking for everyone to come together to share more stories, share more adventures, and come together as one big group.
Yes. So thank you so much, guys, and have a good night.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys.
And that concludes today's journey through the realm of Couple of Nerds. We hope you had a blast exploring the intricate world of Extraeus. Don't miss out on the visual extravaganza over at our YouTube page at Couple of Nerds Podcast. It's where the magic comes to life with exclusive video segments, art previews, and a peek behind the curtain.
Dive deeper into our adventures by visiting DnDWifeStories.com, your haven for all our podcast transcripts and a treasure trove of content dedicated to the captivating universe of Extraeus.
Your unwavering support is our greatest treasure. Take a moment to weave your thoughts into a review and hit that subscribe button for an enchanting journey with Couple of Nerds.
Join us beyond the podcast in the Extraeus Project Discord. Connect with us, the creators, and even the travelers themselves. Witness the magic unfold in live drawing streams, game alongside us, and step into our digital tavern, the Bard's Haven. Share your stories and characters with fellow adventurers. Visit DnDWifeStories.com for the link to join our vibrant community.
Stay tuned for more tales, more laughs, and more insight into the world of tabletop gaming. Until then, may your dice be kind, your campaigns epic, and your adventures legendary.